We often picture Native Americans as mighty buffalo hunters racing across endless grasslands. But what happened during those desperate times when herds migrated away and game became scarce? The untold story of their survival reveals a sophisticated understanding of alternative nutrition that modern society has completely forgotten. The Great Plains between the Mississippi and the Rockies could transform from abundant hunting grounds to barren wastelands within seasons. During these critical periods, the Lakota, Cheyenne, and neighboring nations relied on food sources that would shock most contemporary people. Their survival wasn't about luck, it was about encyclopedic knowledge of every edible resource their environment offered. During lean seasons, Native American women became expert thieves, but their targets weren't human settlements. They searched for the carefully stocked food caches of prairie rodents. Field mice and ground squirrels spent entire autumn months gathering provisions. These industrious creatures collected seeds, wild beans, and nuts, storing them in underground chambers lined with dried vegetation. For hungry tribes, these hidden repositories represented survival itself. Locating these caches demanded remarkable tracking abilities. Women studied subtle ground disturbances, faint mounds, and tiny entrance holes invisible to untrained observers. They carried treasured digging implements. Fire-hardened wooden stakes passed through families for generations. When discovered, a single cache might yield several pounds of premium seeds and tubers, already cleaned and sorted by their small owners. But even facing starvation, the tribes maintained strict ethical codes. Taking everything meant condemning the rodent to death and ensuring no cache would exist next season. Instead, women practiced reciprocal exchange. They removed only portions of stored food, replacing it with dried corn, fat, or other items of equal or greater nutritional value. This wasn't mere superstition. It was practical resource management, ensuring rodent populations survived to harvest again. The wild legumes themselves, sometimes called mouse beans, provided concentrated protein and carbohydrates. Though nearly impossible to eat raw, extended cooking transformed them into nutritious paste. Mixed with available fats, this became dense survival food capable of sustaining families through brutal winters. When frozen ground prevented digging and stored foods depleted, survivors looked upward to the forest canopy. The cambium layer, living tissue beneath bark, offered life-saving carbohydrates and sugars. Ponderosa pine was especially valued for its sweet inner bark. Harvesting required carefully removing tough outer bark without killing the tree. The exposed cambium appeared pale and fibrous, tasting remarkably sweet when fresh. Children and gatherers often consumed it immediately for quick energy. For storage, cambium strips underwent elaborate processing. Hours of boiling converted fibrous material into gelatinous masses easier for bodies to digest. Alternatively, it could be sun-dried or smoke-cured into portable sheets stored for months. Dried bark was ground into flour using stone implements, then added to soups for thickness or mixed with water into porridge. While less calorie-dense than meat, it provided crucial vitamin C, preventing scurvy during winter months. Aspen bark, though more astringent, served similar purposes after prolonged cooking removed bitterness. Throughout Rocky Mountain forests, ancient trees still bear scars from bark removal, silent witnesses to generations of survival. Spring sap flow dramatically increased cambium's nutritional value. Tribes timed their harvest to these seasonal cycles when possible, demonstrating sophisticated understanding of plant biology. The forest became a massive grain store for those who understood how to access it. After consuming all meat from a kill, bones remained, what modern society discards as waste. For Plains peoples, these represented precious fat reserves essential for cold weather survival. Extracting bone fat was intricate work demanding patience and skill. Large bones from bison, elk, or deer were meticulously cleaned, then pulverized using heavy stone hammers and anvil rocks. This physically demanding labor reduced bones nearly to powder, exposing their internal structure. Crushed bone material went into hide containers or earth pits lined with skins. Hot stones brought water to boiling, melting fat from porous bone tissue. Maintaining proper temperature was critical. Vigorous boiling created emulsions, but gentle heating allowed pure fat to float separately. Women carefully skimmed this floating fat using horn or shell spoons. The resulting bone oil was creamy white when cooled, resembling modern butter but with superior storage properties. It rarely spoiled and became the foundation for pemmican, the ultimate preserved food. Pure bone fat was more valuable than regular lard, offering delicate flavor and smooth texture. In winter, this fat provided concentrated calories necessary for generating body heat and maintaining strength. Small amounts could sustain warriors on extended journeys or nourish the sick and elderly. Remaining bone broth wasn't wasted. It became soup base or was consumed directly. Even thoroughly boiled bones found use as tools or fertilizer. This zero-waste approach reflected profound respect for hunted animals and understanding of resource scarcity. Massive locust and grasshopper swarms that devastated settler crops meant something entirely different to indigenous peoples: free protein delivery. When insect clouds darkened skies, entire communities mobilized for organized gathering. Work began before dawn, while cold morning air numbed insects into sluggishness. They clung motionless to grass and bushes, easily shaken into baskets like berries from branches. As temperatures rose and insects became active, tactics shifted to communal drives. Lines of people herded swarms toward pre-dug trenches using smoke and noise. Insects tumbled into these pits by the thousands, creating instant harvests. Captured insects required immediate processing. Roasting over coals or hot stones served multiple purposes. It burned away inedible wings and legs, created appealing crunchy texture, and eliminated parasites. Properly prepared grasshoppers tasted nutty, sometimes compared to fried shellfish. While some were consumed fresh, most underwent additional drying. Spread thin on skins under intense sun, insects desiccated completely. Dried specimens were then ground into high-protein flour, stored in sealed leather pouches for months. This flour enriched winter soups and porridges. Mixed with melted fat and berries, it formed nutritious cakes, providing concentrated energy in minimal volume. Modern analysis confirms insects match or exceed beef for protein, iron, and healthy fats. Certain Great Basin tribes like the Shoshone and Paiute became so proficient they earned reputations as grasshopper eaters, a factual description, not insult. For them, insect swarms weren't disasters, but anticipated seasonal abundance. In subarctic regions where winter dominated the calendar, rock tripe lichen became final hope for travelers and hunters. These leathery black or gray growths clung to granite boulders, appearing completely inedible. Yet Cree and Athabascan peoples understood these unpromising organisms contained life-sustaining nutrients. Lichen was available year-round, unaffected by snow on vertical cliff faces. It scraped off easily with knives or bare hands. Raw consumption was dangerous. Caustic acids caused severe digestive distress. Proper preparation separated safety from poisoning. Lichen required thorough washing and soaking, often with added ash to neutralize acidity. This process took a full day. After soaking, lichen became slippery and soft. Slow cooking broke it down into thick, paste-like substance. The taste was earthy and bitter, but when hot, it provided warming calories. Lichen's main benefit was creating fullness sensations by swelling in stomachs. Adding fish oil or roe improved both calories and palatability. For starvation victims, hot lichen stew meant survival. European expeditions frequently survived only because indigenous guides prepared this emergency food. Lichen never migrated or hid. It waited wherever rocks and moisture coexisted, a reliable reserve for desperate times. When even bark and insects were exhausted, one resource remained: rawhide items people wore and used daily. Untreated dried animal skins retained protein, though in extremely tough form. Only in most dire circumstances did communities consider consuming their possessions. Women gathered old bags, spare leather pieces, even moccasin soles, if made from simple sun-dried hides. Smoke-tanned leather was unsuitable due to chemical processing. Leather preparation began with singeing over flames to remove dirt and hair. Rock-hard pieces were cut into strips and boiled for hours, sometimes days, until collagen began breaking down. Water became cloudy, sticky broth, while leather softened to rubbery consistency. This food was difficult to chew and nearly tasteless, except for faint glue-like flavor. But it provided protein bodies could process into energy for vital organs. The psychological burden was immense. People literally consumed their homes and clothing. Yet this moccasin soup saved families during harshest winters, becoming a metaphor for ultimate human resilience. Chewing leather like gum stimulated saliva and temporarily suppressed hunger pangs, helping people maintain sanity. The survival story of North American indigenous peoples demonstrates extraordinary adaptability and environmental knowledge. When bison vanished and rivers froze, they didn't surrender. They extracted nutrition from bark, bones, insects, lichen, and even their belongings. Their world wasn't divided into edible versus inedible by modern standards, but into what sustains life versus what doesn't. This adaptability enabled them to thrive for thousands of years across unforgiving landscapes. Their legacy teaches respect for food and understanding survival's true cost. Every meal represented labor, accumulated knowledge, and patience. Could you consume boot leather to survive? Their experience reminds us how thin the line between abundance and desperation remains.